The dawn of learning. In the first chapter, we journey into the world of Plato, an ancient thinker whose ideas about education have echoed through centuries. The story begins in a bustling Athenian agora where young citizens were taught to ask questions, to weigh arguments, and to seek the truth beyond the visible. Plato wrote about the idea that learning is not a passive absorption of facts, but an active dialogue that challenges the mind. He believed that through questions, the soul could rise from ignorance to wisdom, much like a traveler who climbs a mountain and discovers new skies at the summit. The key is to view every lesson as a conversation with oneself. In one of his dialogues, Plato described the allegory of the cave, a picture of people trapped in darkness who think shadows are reality. The lesson here is simple yet powerful. Education is the gradual shift from the cave to the light of the sun. By asking probing questions and listening to diverse viewpoints, one can move beyond comfortable ignorance and step into broader horizons. Plato's principles can be grouped into a few guiding lights. First, question is the catalyst for learning. Second, dialogue uncovers truth. Third, the mind must be shaped like a sculptor's hands, shaping raw experience into refined knowledge. Fourth, the highest goal of education is the improvement of the soul. And fifth, true learning connects knowledge to moral action. These ideas are not merely abstract. They offer concrete ways to grow. For example, setting aside time each week to debate a topic with a friend turns an ordinary conversation into a structured exercise in reasoning. Reading philosophical works and making notes of contradictions forces the mind to confront hidden assumptions. Practicing reflective journaling after each learning activity allows one to trace how the mind has shifted. To end, consider how many times you have accepted information without question. Are you ready to turn your everyday learning into a rigorous dialogue that transforms your mind? Chapter 2, Unlocking the Mind. The title for this chapter is Learning as a Journey, not a Destination. Plato's famous dialogue, the Symposium, shows how conversations can lift individuals from physical desire to spiritual wonder. Learning, he suggested, should involve both the body and the mind, but the true reward comes when one's soul is elevated. A simple illustration of this lesson is found in the myth of the metals, where the soul is tested by seeing different forms and recognizing its essence in each of them. Every time we read a new book or solve a problem that feels familiar yet new, we mimic that myth, recognizing our own inner metal amidst ever-changing surfaces. Plato also championed the idea that education must be tailored to the individual. He talked about education as a fine craft that should fit each student's nature, calling this the principle of philosophos, the wise educator who creates a curriculum that grows with the student. How can we apply this today? Start by identifying your core strengths and areas that stir curiosity. If you love mathematics, use it as a lens to explore patterns in art or music. If narrative captures you, practice writing stories that ask questions about ethics, truth, or future. By aligning learning with passion, the process is less of a chore and more of a journey of self-discovery. The third pillar, the importance of questioning, carries practical weight. Write down at least 3 daily questions about a concept you are studying. Who might be wrong? Why does this matter? What are the underlying assumptions? Answering these questions deepens understanding and encourages creative solutions. And remember, the learning process is never linear. It can be a winding path, but each twist is a chance for growth. So ask yourself, how would you redesign your learning habits to reflect the idea that the teacher shapes the student as much as the student shapes the teacher? Chapter 3, Lived Philosophy. This chapter's title is Living the Lesson. We find in the lives of people known as philosophers that they did not simply lecture. They practiced what they preached. Look at a modern-day scholar who uses teaching as a way to shape society. His daily routine involves teaching underprivileged children and using their stories to deepen his own ethical framework. This blend of teaching and living demonstrates how education is not just knowledge transfer, but a partnership that refines character. Plato himself practiced the principle of philosophia, or love of wisdom, by engaging in constant dialogue with his pupil, Ariston, to test and refine his own ideas. The lesson is that we can learn as we teach. By explaining concepts, our own understanding sharpens. Practice this by teaching a friend a new concept. The act of breaking down complex ideas forces you to confront your own gaps. When you explain, you also uncover new questions you did not see before. This method, known as teaching as learning, is a proven way to solidify knowledge. Consider this concrete example. You want to learn programming. Instead of simply coding alone, pair program with a buddy. Step by step, you discuss each line, ask why a function behaves a certain way, and answer each other's questions. Through this partnership, you both grow. This approach mirrors Plato's belief that education thrives in collaboration. As you read and practice, keep a notebook where each time you teach, you note the new questions that arose. This will help you see growth over time, turning your learning into a two-way map of the mind's development. What does it mean for you to become a teacher of your own story? How might you use teaching as a tool for your personal development? Chapter 4, Modern Mirror. The title for the final chapter before the conclusion is The Modern Classroom Mirror. In today's digital age, learning has become a constant stream of information, and yet the core of learning remains unchanged. A disciplined inquiry that seeks truth and enriches the soul. Take the myth of the cave and notice how it resembles social media today. Everyone presents a curated shadow of their life, and only by stepping out of that curated world can one see reality. How can we apply Plato's ancient wisdom to modern life? First, curate your learning environment. Just as a sculptor selects the right marble, choose books, podcasts, mentors that inspire you to think deeply rather than surface level. Second, commit to weekly conversations that challenge your views. Whether in a book club or a debate on philosophy subreddit, ask probing questions and listen actively. Third, set intentional learning goals that connect knowledge to action. For example, if you read a moral philosophy text, think about how you might apply its principles to a real ethical dilemma in your work or community. Finally, reflect daily on how your learned insights shift your personal values and decisions. Concrete example, schedule 30 minutes every morning to read a philosophical essay or watch a lecture. After reading, write one sentence summarizing the main idea and one action you could take that week to embody this idea. Review your notes weekly to see how your application has affected your behavior. This routine keeps learning alive and relevant to life. The core takeaway is that the goal of education is not to finish a degree, but to train the reasoning powers shaped by curiosity, dialogue, and moral intent. By applying this mindset, you transform ordinary learning into a lifelong engine of growth and service. How will you design your daily routine to turn every lesson into a chance for personal revelation and contribution to others? Chapter 5, The Next Step. The final title is Stepping Forward. After exploring the stories, principles, lived experience, and modern applications of Plato's wisdom about education, we arrive at an actionable plan. The message is clear. Education is a disciplined practice that turns questions into wisdom and wisdom into action. Take these 3 core principles and embed them into your life. 1. Question everything and write down your doubts. 2. Teach what you learn to sharpen understanding. 3. Connect learning to moral action. Start by carving out just 10 minutes a day for reflection and commit to 2 conversations a week that push you beyond comfort. Track progress in a simple journal. As you rise, you will notice that learning no longer feels like a chore but a shared adventure with yourself and others. The final question for the audience. What small step can you take today to make learning a catalyst for your personal growth, moral clarity, and contribution to the world? If you are enjoying this, like, share, and subscribe for more educational motivation.